Is the phased ending of the lockdown a sign that the government is still acting too much in the interests of political convenience rather than basing their judgments on solid science?
Yes, but the whole lockdown itself is based on political judgment, because at the end of the day, I don't think that no matter how many people die during any cause, the government will always be criticised for lack of this within the NHS, lack of that within the NHS, lack of police, lack of firefighters not being able to attend the scene of a fire, or whatever. All of these seen things, they will be criticised for. They will not be criticised for all of the unseen things, the fact that a load of local independent businesses have gone bust and now they're struggling to make ends meet, and that's increased the rate of poverty or increased the rate of dependence on food banks or whatever. All of that is unseen, and that will not be considered the government's fault. So I think it's obvious that the government in that case, given that, essentially a political party's job is to win elections, that is their mode of business. I think they're always going to act in their political interests to get re-election. So the fact that the lockdown was in place at all is because they were bowing to the political pressure. And I would definitely question how best to describe this. The idea that certain things should have to stop to help control this pandemic, I don't think that's particularly crazy. If you had, thousands of vulnerable people coming together in one place who wouldn't normally mingle, who are all vulnerable, that for a virus that's spread through airborne particles like this one is, essentially aerosol things that you emit when you talk, to suggest that, saying, hang on, that's maybe a bad idea, maybe we should stop that. That makes so much sense to me that I don't have any problem with at all. But when you've got people that work in the construction industry, for example, if they are able to keep themselves at distance from each other, let's say they're filling potholes, and I don't know anything about the construction industry, but let's say this for example, but let's say they only need one person to do that, then why the heck does that make sense to stop that? At the end of the day, they are not interacting with anyone, so there's minimal risk that they're going to transmit the virus. And with shops and whatnot as well. Surely the most sensible thing to keep people out of the supermarkets, rather than having them congregate in the supermarkets, is to have as many shops as open as possible, but encourage shop owners to introduce sensible policies about keeping people distant from each other. And even if you go to the levels of like the pubs and whatnot, is it really true that having 4 people from the same household sitting outside on a garden bench having a meal at a pub, is that really that much of a high risk compared to standing next to someone who doesn't care about the social distancing in Tesco's or Sainsbury's or wherever? I mean, come on, that doesn't make any sense to me. And obviously it's not ideal, but it would give these businesses a better chance at surviving this. I mean, I don't think there's any way you can slice this. This type of pandemic is going to have an economic cost. You can divvy it up in different ways, but there's no way that you can just carry on and there's no economic cost at all, because people are going to be off sick, and that in itself has an economic cost. And obviously you don't want people to die, obviously, but at the same time, is a suicide somehow preferable to someone dying from COVID-19? And, if you focus too much on the COVID-19 deaths and not all the other problems that the lockdown causes, I think that's a very sort of worrying way to go, because you're almost elevating one cause of death to be vastly more important than another.